Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Tales from the Midnight Diary. My name's Gemma and I'm the dyer and designer behind the Midnight Dyery yarns and knitting and crochet patterns. This is my meant to be weekly but not so much creative podcast about all the things that go on behind the scenes here at the Midnight Diary and what I have been getting up to in my crafty life in general. So it's 2 weeks I think since I recorded an episode. And the reason for that is that I sat down to do a vlog style episode last Sunday. I actually got all my stash out, and or I say my husband got all my stash out for me, tipped it all out on the lounge floor, and I spent 10 hours cataloguing my stash. And I vlogged it for you, so I'm in the editing process at the moment, but it's taking a while. So I thought rather than just waiting to sit and chat with you once that has gone up, I would record a podcast in the meantime. So this is either 14 and a half or 15 and a half, however you'd like to look at it. If you are new here, welcome. It's really, really nice to meet you. I hope that you consider joining our community. There is a Facebook group, The Midnight Makers, which I will link just down below. There is a Ravelry group, but I don't particularly use it, and I don't think any of my members are there anymore. I think everyone's left that particular platform. I am active on Instagram, and yeah, as I say, the comment section down below. I've got comment moderation on, but that's purely because I had some children coming on and I just want to make sure that I am safeguarding you as my viewers of all ages and just making this a really safe space to be. So, what have I been up to? I know a number of you follow my adventures on Instagram, and so some of you will already have seen it, but I do actually have the finished object. So let's start with that, shall we? So this is my first little sweater for a certain small person. I think anyone who's viewed the podcast before will know that I'm expecting a little boy in November, and I wanted to make him something. I didn't get the chance to make something for his sister because she arrived just so quickly, and it's my one thing that I wish I'd had a chance to make something for her. So you could say it's a bit early to be starting to make sweaters, but I thought, why not? So the pattern I've used is an old Ericanite pattern. It's just a really simple sweater with a rolled hem, sleeves and neckline, except for I called this the hem and it's obviously not. It's knit flat, so it's worked in pieces and then sewn together. I always used to work flat. I learnt to knit from my grandma when I was very, very young. I was thinking I was about 5 when I started knitting. She had a yarn shop, and obviously I grew up with the traditional English pattern houses, so Serdar and Rowan, and I've gone blank now on all of them, but the Wendy and Peter Pan patterns, all of those sort of things. So I grew up with those, and everything was knit flat and then seamed. But about 5-6 years ago, I discovered knitting in the round, and it was about 4 years ago I started my first in the round sweater. Now I can't imagine why anyone would ever knit anything flat. I'm actually, next time I make a cardigan, fully intending on steeking it, which is when you have, rather than knitting the cardigan back and forth, you add some extra stitches, some extra columns of stitches, not rows, but columns of stitches that you then snip up and then fold back, and ta-da, cardigan. There was much grumbling when it came to finishing this off and doing the sewing up. My lovely friend Laura, who is Athis Yarns, you need to check her out, she's amazing, kept me company one night and almost tricked me into doing it. We were chatting away and I was like, oh, I've got a sleeve in. Oh, I'll just pin the next sleeve in. And before I knew it, I'd completed the jumper. So big thanks to Laura. There's nothing quite like a crafty friend to help you over the hump of the things that you don't like doing. But sewing up is my least favourite thing. It's so easy to get wrong. It's tedious and just ugh. So I opted for mattress stitch, which you can just about see. So you can just about see the seam, but the beautiful thing about mattress stitch is it is more or less invisible. So, I mean, you'd have to know what you were looking for. And I popped up, so I only just recently learned mattress stitch in the last couple of years, and I popped a poll on my Instagram to find out if anyone would be interested in having some finishing techniques tutorials, or if they can already do all the finishing things, if it's something that would have interested them when they were learning. And it was almost unanimously a yes, so I will be looking to record some tutorials in the coming weeks if I can, and I'll host some of them on YouTube. Some of them you'll need to go to my website for. I won't necessarily be charging for them, but I'll be hosting them on my website rather than my YouTube channel, so keep an eye out on that. So the yarn I've used for this, I splashed out. You know I don't mind acrylic at all, and economical yarns, fantastic. All my knits would be handed down to other people. They wouldn't go to landfill, so don't jump on me for the plastic, folks. But I splashed out and I chose Fibre Space Vivacious DK, which is 100% superwash merino. It's by Fibre Space, which is Jenny. And this is just beautiful. It's called Shoreline, so it's a variegated yarn. And I bought this before we knew the gender of the baby. My little girl looked really sweet in blue. I'm a big fan of blue on babies, of both genders. So I haven't done it blue because it's a boy. It was going to, he or she was going to have this blue sweater anyway. I had a bit of a whoopsie with the gauge. I couldn't find any information as to the gauge on the pattern. So I just went for it, and it transpired that although I cast on the right number of stitches for the 0 to 3 months, the width actually came out as 3 to 6 months. So what do you do there? You could either frog it and go down a needle size, or you could do what I did, and as the gauge was correct for the 3 to 6 month size, I just went to the right length for the 3 to 6 month size as well. So that's that. So it's quite sweet. It's got a little, the only thing it needs left is the buttons sewing on. I've got some Peter Rabbit vintage buttons from a yarn shop that shut in the 90s, and they're really sweet, Peter Rabbit ones, and so I need to find those and sew those on. But that is done. Finished object number 1. Hooray! I don't know why I said number 1, because I don't have a number 2. It's on to works in progress. Now, my mind has been all over the place lately. I've been in and out of hospital, as you might know, having lots of appointments to check on the progress of little one. And my camera started doing that thing where it starts flashing up notifications right across the screen, so I can't see what I'm showing you. So the first project that received some love, because I've been doing work knitting for the day job as well, so there's that been going on. So the first project that received some love is the Marled Rainbow Blanket that I've been working on. So I've since joined in another colour green since the last time I showed it to you, and it is looking rather glorious. This is so simple. It is just casting on a certain number of stitches and then knitting. Some people have said, well, what would you do by way of a pattern? And for me, I would look at the typical gauge you would get with, I mean, I'm holding this double, 4-ply double, so technically it's like a DK weight. And I'm gone on to slightly larger needles because I want a kind of big open squishy blanket. And so I thought, right, well, the gauge is usually this much. I will cast on this many stitches. So in theory, it becomes this wide. And that's what I did. So it's a good width, and it works up in the stripes, just doing the ends as I go. Now, how I do the ends as I go is I actually put in the new yarn, and what I'll do is I'll try and do a little tutorial video when I get to the next one, probably a 2-minute Tuesday, so watch out for that. But I hold on to what would be the tail of the old yarn at the same time, and I knit it until the tail disappears. And then on the way back, when I get to the point where there's a tail where I joined on the new yarn, I hold that and I knit it until it disappears. It means you've got to be a little bit careful, because in the case of this, where I'm knitting with 2 strands, when I'm knitting a tail in, it means my stitches have 3 strands. So I've got to be really careful to pick those up. But I find it so much easier than the idea of sewing in lots of ends. So there we are. I'm loving that. So after that, I mostly have been focusing on work knitting. We are having a big Rowan launched at the day job in September, and so it's all hands on deck to try and get samples from the new collections knit, and I've been doing my part. I've been working on a big chunky jumper that I can't show you, can't really talk about because I'm not allowed to until the launch, but you know, check out our other channel for that one. And it's chunky yarn, like super chunky yarn, 80 meters per 100 grams, and it's worked on 9mm needles. And so I've been trying to work through a ball of that a day to make sure that I can get this sweater done. And it's been a little bit thankless, to be honest. I'm getting a bit bored of it, and it's actually making my arms ache. So I took the whole weekend off. And what I've done instead is, you know, I talked about going through my stash. And I'll touch on that a little bit more in a minute, but the whole video is, you know, go and check out that video when it eventually gets edited and uploaded. It reminded me of projects that I had. And sometimes when you have a project and you leave it for ages, it becomes a lot bigger than it is and a little bit intimidating. And there's this one particular project that I cast on back in 2018 when I first started podcasting that you might remember if you've been with me since the start. And it had just been languishing and languishing. And I knew I really wanted to work on it and wanted to finish it. But I got to the point where I couldn't remember why I'd put it down. Is it because I dropped a stitch? Is it because stitch count had gone wrong? Is it because I didn't know where I was on the pattern? So having gone through all my stash and sorted it out, I don't know quite what possessed me, but on Friday night, I think it was Friday night, after I'd done my ball of this secret project I can't talk to you about, I picked this up and I realised I knew exactly where I was in the pattern and it was super easy. So let me present to you, and it really is this bright, the Tullameen Shawl. This was a mystery shawl from Sweet Georgia. Designed by Tabetha Hedrick, and it was the mystery knit along for 2018. They have just about to release clue 1 of the 2021 mystery knit along, so it's a bit a bit overdue. And when I picked it up, I was actually down here just before this piece of lace. So since Friday, I have done all of that, and it really is that gloriously bright. And I've actually got as far as joining in the third colour, which you can just about see there. Now, the purple is Mermaids Can Be Goths too. This is Truly Hooked, old Truly Hooked colourways. The green is Gamora, and that is from, what's that from? That's from a Guardians of the Galaxy box. And the pink, which has rolled across the floor so I can't show you, is the other Guardians of the Galaxy colourway, again by Truly Hooked. So these two colourways you certainly can't get anymore. I think Verity's probably retired the Mermaids Can Be Goths too, but it's rather beautiful. So it starts off with this central, sorry, this thing keeps coming up. I'll tell you what, I'm going to restart the phone and I'll be right back. Okay, that's a bit better. So as I was saying, you start with, and you're not going to be able to see it very well because I've got stitches on a stitch holder, but you start with a central square. I'd never done anything like this before. I think this was only the second shawl I'd ever cast on. Or it might have been the first shawl I'd ever cast on, but I don't know. It was this or the Spindrift, but I'd never done anything like it before. And you work out until the square gets sort of yay big down to this first round of green. And then it comes out and becomes a rectangular scarf shape or stole shape. But God, that green's bright. It really is that bright as well. Yeah, so I don't know why I'd stopped. So I'd got to here, and since Friday I've just not wanted to work on anything else. I've basically just sat and worked on this the whole time, and I absolutely love it. I'm really enjoying it. I stayed up way past my bedtime knitting last night, and it was just so nice. It's predominantly stocking stitch and garter stitch, but with these lace panels for interest, and the colour changes keep the interest as well. And I'm just about to come onto I've got the last section of stocking stitch to do in the second contrast colour, which is the green. And then I believe I'm starting to use more and more of the second contrast colour, which I'm really excited to be using and to, just dipped it in my water. I'm really excited to be using. I love it. I don't know why I let it languish for so long. When I finished Pip's sweater, I was due to go to the hospital for another appointment, and I put a poll on my Instagram stories. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't really want to cast anything else on. Do I take a lace sock with me, which is something I had on the needles? It's the playground sock sample. We're going to ignore the fact that I haven't touched that at all because I've been working on this. We're just going to ignore that. We'll just leave it over there, and we'll look forward to a Midnight Dyery design launching at some indeterminate point in the future. Or cast on something new, and the overwhelming response was to cast on something new. So I did in the end, just because I didn't want to take a lace sock with me and get part way through a round and then be called in for my scan. So what I cast on, sorry, let's play Hunt the Knitting now. What I cast on is actually nowhere to be seen. It's a little fisherman's rib sweater, again for Pip, and again in yarn from the day job that can be used as a shop sample until such time as he needs it, because I'm doing the 1 to 2 years old age. So I did that, but I was just feeling cross. My whipboard is getting more slimline, I guess, more greatly reduced, and I'm enjoying finishing things and getting them off the needles, and I actually don't want to cast anything else on. That said, I did cast on another sock. I didn't want to take the fisherman's rib sweater with me. I had an appointment on Wednesday, and so I cast on Tuesday in readiness, and as it happened I ended up being in hospital Tuesday night and Wednesday and Thursday. Came home in between times, but so it was really good that I cast this sock on. But yeah, I just felt cross, and I actually haven't added this second sweater for Pip onto my works in progress board yet, because I don't want it to be there yet until I've cast off some other bits. But anyway, here we are. So I'm midway through a round, which is excellent. This is my new sock that I've cast on, my new waiting room sock. It's in my waiting room sock bag, which I bought from Snuggly Stars Yarns at, I want to say it was Yarndale. It's got a sweet little sheepy charm on it, and the yarn is, surprise surprise, my favourite commercial sock yarn. Let's see if I can get that to, there we are, because the lighting is interesting in here tonight. Signature 4-ply in the Blue Lagoon colourway. So this is another pair of socks for my dad, and so I cast on Tuesday, and I'm already a fair way down the leg. The colour's kind of blowing out a bit on my screen. Let's see if I can get it to, no, I don't think I can. No, it's lighter than it looks there. So nice mindless stocking stitch has definitely been the way to go, and not wanting to cast on anything else. There's been lots of talk about mojos recently. There's been a lot of discussion about crafting creative mojos, the willingness, the want, the desire to do anything. Vullenvine just posted a how to get your knitting mojo back video with some interesting tips. And mine has been waxing and waning. I've kind of tied up with things that I feel like I need to do, that I have to do. And for me, obligation knitting and deadlines don't make for a very happy camper. I mean, I finished a lot more things this year than I think I would usually have. I've done garments as well. I think I've done 3-4 garments, certainly in the last calendar year. Or sorry, not last 12 months anyway. I think I've done quite a few of them since Christmas, or at least finished them, which is really good for me. But yeah, for me, I don't know, just picking up something and rediscovering the joy in it. I mean, I'm really, really loving knitting this pattern to the point that I just had to pause it because my husband's cooking dinner. He's an angel like that, and he needs to do some chopping, so I just paused the recording and I couldn't help it. I've just picked up and started again on the next row. So for me, this was really inspiring. Going through my stash was really inspiring and slightly overwhelming, looking at all the new projects that I have planned. There are a lot of needle adjacent is the term we use. So yeah, have you got any long languishing whips, things that you just, they've become so much bigger than they actually are? become like an elephant in the room, become like a problem. You know, the next one I want to pick up and work on is going to be, if you do, just get on with it, just go for it, pick it up. It's not as scary as it feels. And then you're so close to finishing it. I've now obviously made this harder because I've done that much since Friday. I've only got about that much to do again, and then I've got to do the second wing. So this could so easily be cast off soon. You know, it's fantastic. And the next one I want to pick up, and this one, the reason I haven't picked this one up, even though I want to work on it and I want to be able to show my progress on the podcast, is because it's the slip extravaganza I'm holding down here, by the way, is because it's 400 plus the 460 odd stitches a row. I could work on it for 2 hours and only have 4 rows difference, which is going to be like that much on the screen. And which is silly really, because I think I was at this stage last time I showed you. I just started the mosaic pattern. So I really want to work on that one next and get that one done. Yeah, so things weighing you down and feeling like a big deal when they needn't be. I've got one exciting thing, Midnight Dyery wise, to show you. So first of all, huge thanks to everyone who's ordered the Perth Festival of Yarn Perth Festival of Yarn Collab Club cutaway from me. I'm not going to try and say it now. I'll flash a picture up on the screen, but it's too late. You can't get it because pre-orders closed yesterday. I'm very, very thrilled by how many of you have purchased it. It means the absolute world to me. You're supporting me, you're supporting one of my favourite festivals, and supporting my business at a time when I really can't dye yarn anymore. And so obviously that's limiting. So thank you. Midnight Dyery September cozy boxes are open for pre-order still for another week or so. So if you're thinking about getting yourself a cozy box, do hop on the website and order yours to avoid disappointment. I will be dyeing those up at the start of September as well. It's an Aran weight yarn this time. I'm still not quite sure whether I'm going to go for merino nylon cashmere or just a pure merino. I'm still sort of deciding, but the designs are sketched out and done, and that's really exciting. So on Midnight Dyery news, I thought I would share with you now the strawberry lemonade shawl, which is my design for the June cozy box. And yes, I know we're in the middle of August. I went about designing this in a different way. I tried to be methodical and logical and mathematical and sort of designy about it, whereas normally what I do is pick up the needle, start knitting, try a few things, write stuff down, and there we go. So by planning it out in advance, I thought I'd actually been really clever. Turns out I hadn't, mostly because I can't count. And when I came to knit up the sample, it just didn't work. I was like, oh no. So my lovely people who bought the cozy boxes are total darlings, and I love you all. We're like, yeah, we can have it in pieces. So I thought I'd just show you where we are so far, because you haven't actually seen it. I'll put some pictures up as well because I don't know how well this is up. But this is the first section. So you've got this lace. You start here and it curves out really rapidly to create a kind of horseshoe that sits around your neck. So you've got these kind of strawberry lemon wedge things here. More lace there. More lace there. And then what it does is it shoots off to the side, not becoming rectangular like the other one, but this is a complete wing now of the shawl, and I've just got to do the same on the other side. So after this section here, we've then got some fun lace panels. This one is my favourite, I think. This is the daisy stitch, I think it's called the daisy stitch. And am I showing this to you the right way around? Yes. And it looks pretty like that, but when you block it out, it just comes into its own. So it's delicate, radiating, and should sit around your neck really nicely. It's a one skein wonder. And as soon as I've got this pattern out to the Cozy Box members in its fullness, this is what I should have been working on this week, I will be releasing it on my PayHip store. So yeah, if you want to see other people's versions, then check out the hashtag Midnight Make Along. And that is where I'm going to leave things this week, with a little slideshow of things that people have been doing in the Midnight Make Along. You can still get involved. You need to be using one of my patterns or a project that has at least 50% of one of my yarns, and you can be in for prizes. I've not done any prize draws during the year. I'm going to do a big prize draw at the end of the year, and I'm going to be showing you very, very soon what the prize for that actually is. So do get involved. I will leave you. Have a fantastic crafty week, and please enjoy this slideshow of what you lovely lot have been up to, and I hope maybe you feel a little bit inspired to join in yourself. Take care. Bye.